Apple. Today it's the most valuable company in history, worth over $3 trillion. That's more than the GDP of entire countries. The iPhone alone generates more revenue than companies like McDonald's, Nike, and Coca-Cola combined. But here's the part most people don't know. In 1997, Apple was only 90 days away from bankruptcy. Its products were failing, its leadership was chaotic, and the company Wall Street once hyped as the future of computing was being mocked as a dead brand walking. And then, a single comeback, led by a man Apple had once fired, turned everything around. This is the story of how Apple went from garage startup to near bankruptcy, to the world's most profitable empire. Stick around, because by the end, you'll see how Apple not only saved itself, but built a business model so powerful, it traps customers for life. And you'll want to hear the 3 hidden lessons that explain exactly why Apple keeps winning, even when it looks like they're about to lose. It all starts in 1976, with a humble garage in Los Altos, California, a place that would soon become legendary in tech history. This unassuming spot, nestled in a quiet neighborhood, would become the birthplace of a revolution that would change the world forever. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, 2 young dreamers with big ambitions, assembled the very first Apple I by hand. They worked late into the night, soldering parts and piecing together their vision, fueled by little more than hope and caffeine. The legend is romantic. 2 guys, no money, just vision and relentless determination. Their story would inspire generations of entrepreneurs, showing that greatness can come from the most unlikely places. But the truth, Apple wasn't just some scrappy DIY project, it was a blend of genius and grit. Every wire, every circuit was a testament to their obsession with perfection and their refusal to give up. Wozniak was an engineering genius, a true innovator in every sense. His technical brilliance made the impossible seem possible, and his designs would set new standards for the industry. Jobs was a salesman who could bend reality with his charisma and vision. He saw not just what computers were but what they could become, and convinced others to believe in that future. And their third co-founder, Ronald Wayne, sold his 10% stake for just $800, today worth over $200 billion, a decision he'd later regret. Wayne's story is a reminder of how risky and uncertain those early days really were. The Apple I sold modestly, but it was only the beginning of something much bigger. It proved there was a market for personal computers, and that people were hungry for innovation. But the Apple II changed everything, launching Apple into the mainstream. It was a leap forward in design, usability, and power, capturing the imagination of the public. It was sleek, colorful, and reliable. Millions of units sold, making it a household name. Suddenly Apple was everywhere, from classrooms to living rooms, from small businesses to big corporations. Schools and homes across America adopted it, changing how people learned and worked. The Apple II became a symbol of progress, sparking curiosity and creativity in a new generation. By 1980, Apple went public, making headlines everywhere. The company's IPO was one of the biggest in history, and it instantly created hundreds of millionaires. Jobs became a millionaire at just 25. Wall Street cheered the new tech giant. Apple was now a force to be reckoned with, and the world was taking notice. Silicon Valley had its first rockstar CEO, and the world was watching. Jobs was on magazine covers, and Apple was the talk of the town. But here's the catch. Early success is dangerous, and it can blind you. The higher you climb, the easier it is to lose sight of the ground beneath your feet. Because it makes you believe you can't fail, even when the risks are real. Complacency can creep in, and the warning signs are easy to ignore. And Apple was about to learn that lesson the hard way, facing a crisis that would test everything. The countdown to near death had begun, and the company's future was hanging by a thread. Then came the shocker. Jobs announced a partnership with Microsoft. Bill Gates, Apple's greatest rival, appeared on a giant screen at Macworld, pledging $150 million and committing to keep Microsoft Office on Mac. The audience booed. Jobs didn't care. Survival mattered more than pride. That deal bought Apple time. But time alone doesn't build empires. Apple needed a product that would redefine it. 1998, Apple unveiled the iMac G3. It wasn't beige, it wasn't boring, it was colorful, playful, see-through, and consumers loved it. Millions sold. Suddenly Apple was cool again. But Jobs knew a single hit wasn't enough. Apple needed a brand identity. So came the Think Different campaign. It wasn't about selling computers, it was about aligning Apple with icons like Einstein, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King Jr. Apple wasn't a company, it was a movement. And this movement was about to disrupt the music industry. The year was 2001. Apple unveiled the iPod, a device that would change the way the world listened to music forever. It wasn't just another gadget, it was a revolution in your pocket. Imagine 1,000 songs in your pocket, ready to play at any moment. The iPod was simple, elegant, and intuitive. It was genius in its design, and it worked flawlessly, making music more personal than ever before. But the real secret wasn't just the hardware. Apple's true innovation was the ecosystem it built around the iPod, connecting devices and software seamlessly. With iTunes, Apple offered a legal, easy way to buy, organize, and enjoy music. Suddenly, your entire music library was just a click away, and piracy no longer seemed necessary. Almost overnight, the iPod and iTunes crushed CD sales and put an end to Napster's Wild West era of music piracy, forcing the entire industry to adapt to a new digital reality. By 2004, Apple had become the undisputed leader in digital music. Those iconic white earbuds, they weren't just headphones anymore, they were a statement. Wearing them became a cultural status symbol, a badge of honor that signaled you were part of something bigger, a movement. The iPod didn't just change how people listened to music, it turned millions of teenagers into lifelong Apple fans, building a fiercely loyal customer base that would follow Apple for years to come. And it taught Apple a critical lesson: if you control the ecosystem, you control the customer. That insight would shape everything Apple did next. Now, armed with this strategy, Apple was ready to take on new challenges and change the world forever. 2007. Steve Jobs takes the stage, anticipation buzzing in the air. The world is watching, waiting for something extraordinary. The energy in the room is electric, as if everyone senses that history is about to be made. Black turtleneck, jeans, the iconic uniform of innovation. Jobs stands as a symbol of creativity and bold ideas, instantly recognizable and always ready to surprise. Today we're introducing 3 revolutionary products, Jobs declares, his voice steady and confident. The audience leans in, hanging on every word: an iPod, a phone, an internet communicator. Are you getting it? The crowd erupts in cheers, realizing something big is happening. But Jobs wasn't unveiling 3 devices that day, he was building suspense, setting the stage for a single, groundbreaking product. He was unveiling one. The iPhone, a true game-changer. It was sleek, simple, and unlike anything the world had seen before. The iPhone wasn't just a phone, it was a handheld computer in your pocket. It combined music, communication, and the internet in a single device, forever changing how we live and connect. And honestly, the real genius? The App Store, opening endless possibilities. Suddenly your phone could do almost anything, thanks to a world of apps. Suddenly third-party developers could build apps for millions of users. This unleashed a wave of creativity and innovation, fueling a new digital economy. And with every app downloaded, Apple's ecosystem grew stronger. The result? Nokia collapsed, BlackBerry collapsed, Palm collapsed. The old giants couldn't keep up. The smartphone era began, and Apple was at the center of it all. The way people communicated, worked, and played was transformed forever. Within a decade, the iPhone became Apple's golden goose, driving over half of its revenue. It turned Apple into one of the most valuable companies on the planet. But there was one looming problem. What happens when Jobs is gone? The world wondered if Apple could keep innovating without its visionary leader. 2011, Steve Jobs passes away, the world mourns. Analysts predict Apple will decline without its visionary leader. Enter Tim Cook, not a showman, not a dreamer, but a supply chain genius. Cook streamlined Apple's operations, built deep ties in China, and scaled manufacturing to levels no one thought possible. Under Cook, Apple didn't just survive, it thrived. In 2018, it became the world's first $1 trillion company, then $2 trillion, then $3 trillion. Cook may not have invented the iPhone, but he perfected Apple's ability to deliver it to millions, flawlessly, every single year. And while the world focused on hardware, Cook quietly made Apple into something even bigger. Apple Music, Apple TV+, Apple Pay, iCloud, the App Store on their own, small. Together, a money-printing empire. Services now generate over $90 billion a year, recurring revenue that grows no matter what iPhone sales look like. And here's the genius. Once you're in the Apple ecosystem, leaving is honestly pretty painful. Your music, your files, your apps, your payments, it's all inside Apple's walled garden. It's not just hardware anymore. Apple has turned into a subscription empire. Of course, Apple isn't perfect. Critics argue innovation has slowed. The iPhone looks the same every year. Antitrust lawsuits accuse Apple of monopolistic App Store practices. Competitors in AI and AR are catching up fast. But here's the thing. Despite the criticism, customers stay loyal. Apple has a 90% retention rate. People don't just buy Apple products, they buy into the Apple identity. So what's next? Apple is betting on AR and VR with the Vision Pro. It's launching Apple Intelligence, its AI play, and rumors swirl about cars and health tech. The big question, can Apple still think different without Steve Jobs? Or has it become the very big brother it once claimed to fight? Apple's journey is the ultimate business case study, from garage startup to near death, to a $3 trillion empire. The lessons? Focus beats complexity. Ecosystems build empires. Branding creates loyalty. And maybe the biggest one? Apple doesn't just sell technology, it sells dreams. So what do you think? Is Apple still the world's most innovative company, or just the world's most profitable? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want to know the hidden flops Apple doesn't want you to remember, make sure you subscribe, because that video is coming next.